The lights in the room shifted. Not brighter. Not darker. Just colder. Above us, the black screen flickered to life again. No sound. No warning. Just words. Final phase. Select. Or be selected. The woman in silver stood motionless, her face unreadable. The pixie cut girl took a half step closer to me without realizing it. I stared at the screen, at the message, feeling the walls tighten around us. Not literally. Not physically. But in my mind. A narrowing. A funnel we had been pushed toward from the very beginning. We weren't being tested for survival anymore. We were being tested for something else. Something worse. The screen changed again. Candidates will be evaluated individually. Compliance ensures integration. Non-compliance results in isolation. Isolation. A pretty word. A cold word. It didn't need more explanation. The pixie cut girl whispered, more to herself than to me. Integration into what? No answer came. Only silence. Only the hum of a machine we had never seen, but that had always been there. Waiting. Watching. Deciding. The door behind us stayed closed. Sealed. Silent. We stood still for a moment. 3 figures in a room that no longer buzzed with urgency. Only with something quieter. Heavier. Acceptance. The woman in silver didn't move. The pixie cut girl lowered her hands slowly, tension bleeding from her fingers. And me. I let my breath out in a slow, shaky stream. No alarms. No voices. No countdowns. Just us. And the room. The white walls. The smooth floor. The faint hum of ventilation somewhere above. We're not trapped, I said quietly, mostly to hear the words out loud. The pixie cut girl glanced at me, skeptical. Feels trapped. Maybe that's the point, I said. Maybe the trap isn't the room. Maybe it's what we do inside it. The woman in silver finally spoke. Observe first, she said calmly. Act later. For once, no one argued. We fanned out slowly, each taking a different section of the room. No obvious doors. No windows. No panels screaming for attention. But subtle things. Tiny differences in the texture of one wall. A slight shift in the color of the floor tiles near the center. A faint outline, almost invisible, of a seam along the far wall. The pixie cut girl crouched near the seam, running her fingers lightly over it. A door, she guessed. Maybe, I said. Or maybe another test. Another choice waiting to be made. We weren't fighting for survival anymore. We were fighting to understand. We worked in silence. The girl with short hair ran her fingers along the seam in the wall again, this time more methodically, feeling for irregularities. I crouched down near the discolored tiles in the center of the room, brushing my palm across the smooth surface. It was subtle. But the temperature was different. Slightly warmer. As if something below was active, alive, waiting. The woman in silver circled the perimeter, her steps deliberate, her eyes sharp. No one spoke. No one needed to. We were building the map in our heads. Marking the weak points. Noting the inconsistencies. It wasn't chaos. It was a pattern. A message, hidden in plain sight. Near the back corner, I found the first real clue. 3 small indentations carved neatly into the wall, barely the size of a fingertip. At first glance, they meant nothing. But then I realized. They weren't random. They were positioned like a triangle. A deliberate formation. I called the others over with a glance. The girl with short hair knelt beside me, studying the marks. Some kind of input, she asked. The woman in silver didn't answer immediately. She knelt as well, examining the spacing, the depth. Finally, she straightened. A code, she said. Or an invitation. An invitation to what? We didn't know yet. But the walls of this place didn't offer chances freely. Every move had a cost. And somewhere behind those seamless panels, someone was counting every second we hesitated. We stared at the triangular indentations in the wall. Simple. Precise. Deceptive. Nothing in this place had been accidental. Not the invitations. Not the surveillance. Not this. The girl with short hair touched one of the shallow grooves lightly. No click. No sound. Just the soft texture of cold metal hidden beneath the wall's paint. "They're not buttons," she said quietly. "Maybe pressure sensors," I offered. "Or something even simpler," the woman in silver murmured. "Recognition." The word hung in the air between us. Recognition of what? The girl with short hair shifted uneasily, glancing at the objects we'd carried with us: the coin, the key, the unopened envelope. 3 items. 3 indentations. 3 players left. Coincidence? Not in this place. Never in this place. Without speaking, I held out the key. The girl with short hair pulled out the coin from her pocket. The woman in silver still held the black envelope tightly in her hand. For a second, none of us moved. Then the girl stepped forward. She pressed the coin gently into the first indentation. Nothing happened. She pressed harder. And a soft vibration trembled through the wall. Faint. But real. Encouraged, I placed the key into the second indentation. Another vibration. Slightly stronger. All eyes turned to the woman in silver. She hesitated. Just for a breath. A flicker of doubt in her otherwise flawless calm. Then she stepped forward and pressed the envelope flat against the third indentation. It didn't fit perfectly. It wasn't meant to. But as soon as the black surface touched the final point, the wall responded. A low mechanical hum filled the room. Lights along the seam flickered weakly. A door, hidden so well we almost missed it, slid open with a reluctant groan. Beyond it, darkness. And the unknown. The door slid open just wide enough to let us through. No more. No less. On the other side, a narrow passage swallowed by darkness. No lights. No sound. Just a low, almost imperceptible current of cold air moving against our skin. We exchanged a look. Brief, silent. And then we stepped through. The darkness wasn't complete. As our eyes adjusted, faint outlines emerged. The suggestion of walls, the subtle gleam of metal fixtures embedded along the corridor. Footsteps echoed unnaturally loud against the bare floor. Each step forward felt like sinking deeper into something designed to erase you. The woman in silver led the way without hesitation. Her silhouette sharp and sure. The girl with short hair stayed close to me, her hand occasionally brushing mine. A silent reassurance that neither of us was moving alone. The corridor narrowed, twisted, and opened into a small chamber. This room was different. The walls weren't smooth anymore. They were covered in panels. Screens, monitors, recording devices. Rows of them, stacked floor to ceiling. All dark. All silent. A nerve center without a pulse. Or perhaps simply waiting. At the far end of the room, a single terminal blinked to life. One screen. One chair. The woman in silver slowed for the first time. She didn't sit. She turned to face us. Her expression was no longer neutral. It was resolved. Tired. Almost regretful. "I should explain," she said quietly. Her voice didn't echo. It barely carried in the cold, insulated air. The girl with short hair stiffened. I said nothing. Because some part of me already knew. Had always known. The woman in silver placed the black envelope on the console. It lay there, heavy and unopened, like a confession. "You were not chosen by accident," she continued. "None of you were." She didn't look at us when she said it. She looked past us. At the walls. At the screens. At the place she belonged to. The woman in silver stood motionless for a moment, her hand resting lightly on the console. Behind her, the dead monitors loomed like silent witnesses. "You weren't prisoners," she said again, her voice barely louder than a whisper. "You were candidates." Candidates for what? Neither of us asked. The answer was already coiling at the edges of our minds. Control. Obedience. Selection. We needed to know, she continued, who would break. Who would comply? Who would resist? Her gaze shifted to the girl with short hair, then to me. And who would be useful? The word hit harder than any accusation. Useful. Not loyal. Not brave. Just useful. The girl with short hair stepped slightly in front of me, protective by instinct. "And if we refuse?" she asked. The woman in silver's mouth curved into a small, almost sorrowful smile. "You already have," she said. "Every choice you made led you here. Every act of defiance, every moment of trust." She gestured lightly to the room around us. "This is your reward." Silence. Thick. Suffocating. I tightened my grip around the key still hidden in my pocket. A useless gesture. A memory of resistance more than a weapon. "You're free to leave," the woman in silver said. "And go where?" I asked quietly. She didn't answer. Because we both knew the truth. There was nowhere to go. Not really. We could walk out the door. We could disappear into the city. We could pretend to be free. But we would never stop being watched. Never stop being judged. Never stop being part of this machine we had unknowingly stepped into. The girl with short hair's voice broke the stillness. "What happens if we stay?" The woman in silver's eyes softened. "Then you survive." Simple words. Terrible words. Because survival wasn't the same as living. And we knew it. The woman in silver didn't wait for our answer. She simply turned and walked toward a door we hadn't noticed before. No locks. No codes. Just a simple, open frame leading into a corridor washed in pale, clinical light. She didn't look back. She didn't need to. Her part in the story was over. Ours was just beginning. I looked at the girl with short hair. Her face was pale but steady. Not fearless. No one could be fearless here. But unwilling to surrender completely. I nodded once. A small, tired gesture. She nodded back. We didn't speak. There was nothing left to say. Together, we turned away from the empty console. From the envelope left behind. From the doors that offered an exit and a prison at the same time. We didn't run. We didn't hide. We simply moved. One step. Another. Toward the unknown. Toward a life that would never truly belong to us again. But at least we would move through it by choice. Not theirs. Ours. The cameras above us blinked to life again as we passed under them. Recording. Measuring. Judging. Somewhere, in a room we would never see. Someone was already writing reports about our decisions. Someone was calculating our worth. But they hadn't broken us yet. And maybe, just maybe, that was enough for now.